let's jump into the next one we have here on the docket. The Duke Blue Devils will travel down to Tallahassee to take on Florida State. Florida State are currently a 14-point favorite against the Devils. Again, we touched on Riley Leonard earlier. Let's go to Jake, who is covering Duke. Let's talk about the Blue Devils. What do they have to do to have success in this game? Are they in a bad spot? Like, what's the situation here?
Well, if they're without Riley Leonard, I think they're in a dangerous spot. I guess I don't know how much day to day, with college coaches, you really don't know what you're going
I
to
don't
get
think
out of
Elko
it.
is going to tell you anything.
But I thought with the talks after that Notre Dame game, I mean, everybody was saying like 4 weeks at least. It felt like it was, I thought at least he was going to sit out this one, the NC State game, and I believe I think North Carolina was the game they were kind of talking about he might come back for. So to hear that he might play on Saturday is surprising, but I kind of want to cover it because Henry Belvin did play last week. I want to show you guys how they kind of won for those who didn't catch that game. And it's a tough spot for him. Henry Belvin completed 4 passes last week, 4 passes for just slightly over 100 yards. He had a 83-yard run for their running back for a touchdown. They had 1 touchdown pass that came off of an interception on the defense. So they had like an 8-yard touchdown pass. And then they also had a 69-yard touchdown pass with 2 passes on that drive. So like 3 or 4 plays turned into 21 points for them. Outside of that, I'm not sure if they gained more than 50 yards, and that might be overstating it. Like they went 3 and out numerous times. The defense has been rock solid all year. That's the one thing I know that they're going to count on with or without Leonard on Saturday. They turned over NC State 4 times on their last 4 possessions on down. So NC State, I think, saw the blueprint, saw that offense wasn't going to capitalize if they did turn the ball over, and they just continued to refuse to punt, but they still couldn't convert on that end. So for Duke, I mean, I think with or without Riley Leonard, you've got to make it ugly, capitalize on the mistakes your defense can create, because I know that Jordan Travis, I think, could be a little turnover prone in some spots if you really want to make him uncomfortable in this weird game on prime time. And the defense, this has got to be the best game you play of the year to give yourself a chance with or without Leonard, especially if you got Belvin, man. This is going to have to, you got to hold Florida State to under 17 points, 14. This defensive line for Florida State's really good. And they're not going to give Duke the same scenario that NC State gave them last week. So that's what I got. I think they're up for a task. And you would imagine that Leonard's going to be limited even if he does play, right? So he'll be better. Yeah. He'll have a better arm than Belvin will, but I still think either quarterback is not going to be the same.
Yep. 100%. I'm with you on that. In the fact that what can they give up to win? It's not 25. It's not 28. You can't give up that many points and expect to win. I'm just checking something real quick on my end. So this is actually Duke's first true road game. Other than playing at UConn, this is like their first big road game where they're going to a place that's actually daunting or challenging to go into. They got NC State at home. They got Notre Dame at home. They got Clemson at home. Yeah, as Reese does the tomahawk chop right now. Another thing with this, Duke has never beaten Florida State in their 19 matchups. 0 for 19. Seems to be like tough. Florida State's found an offensive groove, and they're just cruising the last couple of weeks. And they've scored 30 plus in each of their games. They've scored 40 plus in 3 of the 6 games that they've played. They're starting to roll, and I think that's the worrisome for Duke, right? Is you're going up against a very good offense, but a very opportune defense. This defense isn't going to blow you out of the water on the statistics side of things, but like you said, their pass rush is very good. Let's talk about Jared Verse as well as other pieces with Deloach. Like, these are guys who can go get sacks. Each of them have above 2.5, 3 sacks on the year. They are very talented. Back to the offense a little bit. Florida State does rank outside the top 100 in rush attempts, but when they do run the football, they're top 15 in yards per carry. And that's at 5.5. Like they don't necessarily need to because they have so many weapons on the outside with Coleman and Bell and just a ton of other weapons on the outside. But when they run the football, it is effective and it's to the point. They're getting everything they want out of it. 7 yards per pass will help. And I just think there's too many weapons here for Duke. I don't think they've seen this amount of weapons. You go back to the Notre Dame game. They were really good against that Notre Dame team. outside of the one drive, obviously, where Hartman took him down the field to win the football game. This is not as good as a running back room as like having Estime at Notre Dame, but it's a way better receiver room and a way better tight end room. It's going to be tough for Duke in that aspect. Let's go back to the defense a little bit. This defense is penalized, or this team's penalized a ton, like 8 a game, and it hasn't been great. And they don't force very many turnovers. And like, so you were talking about a kid that if he plays over Leonard, like this isn't a defense that's been opportune turnover wise. They've just been stout enough. They've done enough to stay in games. They've pushed teams back with tackles for loss and sacks, but they're not taking the ball away from teams or anything. So Florida State, I think, is in a really good spot here. I think without Leonard, this is a really bad matchup for Duke. If you can't score with Florida State, you can't beat Florida State. Whether or not your defense is like Duke's, very good to the top end of the country, if you can't score, you can't beat this team because you won't keep them under. I don't think you keep them under 24, 27, 20, like mid 20s. It's over that for me if the team total's around there. I don't know what you're thinking on that, Jake.
No, I like it. I think an under is a great play for that. I want to highlight one matchup you really want to watch. Miles Jones is, according to PFF, he's the highest grade cornerback on college football. That's for Duke. So his matchup against Keon Coleman is like kind of an under the radar matchup you kind of want to watch between those two.
100%.
So I think that's something to keep an eye out for. But if we're just going into predictions, I've already taken it. Give me Florida State and give me the points. Like
I saw 14.5. Did you get 14? Because this will make the difference on the graphic here.
I got 14 this afternoon when I took it.
Chief might have just spoiled something for later for himself.
Is that what I put on my favorite bet? I didn't like any lines. Did I put that was my favorite bet?
Is it?
Come on, Shape.
Oh, I think you did.
Oh, that's
right.
tough.
Spoiled it. Come on,
hey, I might have to get going. So this is actually a good time to highlight it. This is a favorite bet of mine. Like I said, I think if you have Riley Leonard on one leg or you have Henry Belvin out there, I think that JP, like you said, this team is going to struggle to score points. And the reason they run the ball so well, JP, is like when you have that many receivers, it is so hard to defend the run. Like you can probably put you out there running back and you're going to get 3 yards of carry because of how much you can light it up through the air with these receivers. It's that good. So, and when Travis can run the way that he does as well, like there's just, it's going to be a tough matchup for the Blue Devils.
Well, then let's jump into predictions. Parks and Reese, let's start with you two. 14 we'll do is the number.
Yeah, I think if you look at this game, I don't know about you guys. I'm going to ask you guys this. I don't know if there's a team I've dropped stock on more week to week after week one, more than Florida State. Like, has your opinion only dropped, right?
They are slaughtering teams the last few weeks. I think my stock is right where it needs to be.
I think I'm just holding it.
I think this is a good opportunity for them.
They took care
because they're back. Like it seems like they haven't played on a primetime spot either in a while. And you get a matchup.
I think that Clemson game holds a little bit of weight because they were on the road, right? And they probably shouldn't have won that game, but they did. I think you're looking at Clemson with 2 losses and it's one of those spots, baby.
I think that's what brings up my pick. And I don't know if we've seen a more opposite pick for me if it was the other way around on home and away teams. Because like this game being at Florida State is a huge piece for me, along with Riley Leonard not playing most likely. So I think Florida State steamrolls them. I don't think Duke has enough offensive firepower, leadership, whatever you want to name. And this Florida State team's got to make a statement because honestly, going on the road against Boston College, they weren't good. Going on the road against Clemson, they weren't good. So thank God they're at home. They'll probably steamroll Duke here.
I thought you were about to be the nice guy and take Duke so we could all of us can take Florida State and be the nice guy for us. But yeah, no, we're all going to roll with Florida State here because good luck stopping that offense. They're going to need Duke Stevens is going to need an Iowa-like performance to try to limit this team because they're going to score a lot. That offense ain't going to do a whole lot. So
this is where we get dummied on the graphic, just so everybody knows. We know that, right? Yep. Like if we all take Florida State, we're getting
last time we did this, Louisville.
If I die on a hill where I'm betting on Florida State against a Riley Leonard-less Duke, I can live with that. I can sleep at night.
Okay. That's fair. Let's jump into the next game.